We are here with writer, director Joshua Grannell, and actor Thomas Dekker, and we are here to talk about the brand new special edition Blu-ray release from Severin Films of All About Evil, and it's finally coming to Blu-ray on June 13th. Joshua, Thomas, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Excellent.
Excellent. Well, okay. It took a while, but it's finally coming to Blu-ray. And can you tell the viewers about the film about All About Evil?
Sure. Well, it's God, where do I start? It's my first ever feature film that was based on a short film I wrote and directed, and it's my sort of love letter to independent cinemas and grindhouse movies. Certainly, cult filmmakers like Herschel Gordon Lewis and Doris Wishman, and it's really something near and dear to me because I was literally doing shows in movie theaters. I was working in movie theaters. I was, that's where I lived. And so this movie is really personal in many ways. And of course, Thomas in the movie plays a young horror fan named Steven who is rabid about going to these, going to these movies and seeing, the horror movies, including the repertory old screenings, and really kind of, I guess, is taken by the woman who inherits the movie theater, who is making her own short horror films that are rather convincing as far as the special effects go, and
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, and so of course it's I describe it as a gore comedy because it is definitely gory, and it's also I think very funny. So it's a gore comedy. Yeah, but maybe Thomas could describe it differently.
Well, yeah, Thomas, can you tell us about your character and your take on what I guess Joshua said?
Yes, yes, I play Steven, a young thing who is enamored with horror and film and Natasha. Listen, I don't know how you feel about this, Joshua, but I always felt in some ways that, the Natasha role was kind of the Peaches side of Joshua, and I was a little bit more of the young boy Joshua, lover of all these films. And so, not that I took that to any extreme degree, but it was always kind of in my back pocket, and one of the things I love about Joshua so much is his just unbridled passion for all of this. And so that was all I really had to pay attention to in my character.
And it's that weird thing where I don't think that I had that realization until maybe you said it to me later, or so it was kind of like way after the movie. Maybe we were touring with the movie, and maybe Thomas, maybe you said that to me, and I was like, oh my God, Deborah is totally fucking Peaches, and Steven is totally me in high school, but of course it's a fantasy because in high school I was nowhere near as cute as Thomas Dekker, nor was Elvira, my mother. So it's still still a total fantasy for me. But yes, that is, I'm sure. No, it's not even subtle. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. Once Thomas just said it, it was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's true. I mean, that is the kid I was in high school, for sure. And in a lot of ways, the sort of naivete of that character, the sort of sexual ambiguity of the character, the sweetness, and the being a mama's boy, like all of those things were very me, and still having this deep, dark love of things that were horror, macabre, gross, violence. And there's a lot of overt stuff about that in the movie that I experienced. The concern from teachers. I had teachers who called my parents very, very worried about me. Like all that stuff is part of my life, and it all went into the movie. So Steven is me, in high school, no doubt.
And let's talk about the cast as well. Natasha Lyonne. I mean, come on,
Have you heard of her?
I watched a few things.
Did you watch Saturday Night Live?
And and that was just after. Was it just after the cheerleader movie?
No, it was a bit after. So it was, Natasha has had so many careers in many ways. Like, she was obviously a child star. If you know where she got her start, it was on Pee-wee's Playhouse. Which, what better way for someone that I would be fascinated by?
I mean, the perfect way, actually.
To start on the Playhouse. I really fell in love with her in movies like The Slums of Beverly Hills, because she was a darling. I mean, a total teenage darling of independent cinema. And I was working for Landmark Theaters. So we screened all of the movies that she was in, So the films like The Slums of Beverly Hills, But I'm a Cheerleader. Yeah, Party Monster, Die Mommy Die, and she had like that sort of Hollywood career too, right? She was a big part of those American Pie movies, which were huge, big box office films. So she had done all of that, and then she had just done another indie, and forgive me, I forget the name of it. But honestly, I did not think that we would be able to get Natasha Lyonne to play this part, and she was at one point. I was asked by the cinematographer, Tom Richmond, if you could get anybody who would be your first choice when we were having trouble. Like, at the 11th hour, we actually lost an actor who was going to play that part. And I said, if I could have anybody, it would be Natasha Lyonne. He pulled out his cell phone and called her.
Oh my God.
Tom Richmond, my cinematographer, our cinematographer for All About Evil, who is genius and lovely, shot Natasha in The Slums of Beverly Hills. So, if you really want a particular actor, you might, especially one as gorgeous as Natasha, you might want to
distinct. She's very
distinct, but you hire a cinematographer that they trust. I think that's a good way to get your foot in the door.
You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
Now, Thomas, what was it like actually, Joshua mentioned it earlier, but what was it like having Elvira as a mom, or Cassandra Peterson, rather?
I mean, it was incredible. My dad in particular, as I think most dads was a huge fan of Elvira. And I had grown up watching her show, and, she was just yet another kind of idol of mine that was in this project. Mink was also
right.
But obviously with Cassandra playing my mother, it was just a really thrilling thing. And I remember I think, Joshua, right, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the first day of filming was all our stuff in the house, like all the just mom and son scenes.
You're right. You're right. I forgot, because the very first thing we filmed was the diner scene with Natasha and the evil family. But then after lunch, you're right, we went to your house and we filmed. So that was day one.
Yeah, and the thing that was amazing about Cassandra too, if I remember correctly, was, she was, believe it or not, I think she was a bit intimidated by this role and by this having to, having none of the Elvira kind of face over her own. And so in her kind of moment of vulnerability, we really were able to click, and I think got a really nice rhythm going. And I just, love her as a person.
Can I just say that Thomas really did, how should I say this? You were so gracious and generous with her. And I don't think she would mind us saying that I think she would say it. She was definitely out of her comfort zone. She had done this particular character for decades. The last movie she appeared in out of Elvira drag was Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right? So
right.
It had been a long time. And Thomas was so lovely with her, and the two of them really just bonded. And also Thomas, I hired Thomas while he was doing, a TV show and a successful TV show after having done another successful TV show. And, so Thomas is coming off Terminator. So Thomas was used to learning lines quickly, shooting quickly, making a scene happen, not really getting caught up in the sort of, the stress or the anxiety, because he had lived at a place where you didn't have time for that. And
Right.
Cassandra was coming from a place where she had cue cards, teleprompters, everything was very scripted and hokey, and she had to appear natural and off book. And, it was just different for her. And he was awesome.
Great in it.
Yeah, she was
great.
Yeah, she's a wonderful actor. I
Yeah.
mean, she's fabulous. So, okay, finally, we're going to have just a very clear high def version of the film to see. And what's your favorite kills? Essentially.
Well, I bet we probably have the same one, is my guess, because, Thomas knows what mine is.
Do I?
Oh yeah, mine is, and it's sort of a spoiler if you haven't seen the movie, but mine is the twins killing each other.
Oh yes, of course.
To me, that was even when I wrote that scene, because I was like, what am I going to do with those two? And then I was like, oh my God, I know. They're going to choose death over, being sick, because they grew up in a hospital. They grew up in a mental hospital. So when the cop, it's me. When Peaches says you're going to jail for the rest of your lives, or whatever I say, they look at each other and they make this decision like, no, we're not. To me, that's my favorite kill. So.
That was also electric to watch.
It was.
Because they are twins. They just, there was no holding back of any, which was kind of amazing. I mean, yes, I guess I'd have to agree. I have a soft spot for guillotine tits. I can't help it. I just think it's so in keeping with the attitude of the film. It really works for me.
Well, that was actually what inspired Takashi Miike. So I guess, will there, with revived interest and its resurgence, is there maybe gonna be a sequel?
I wouldn't say that there would be a sequel, but certainly I have to say, the fact that it's going to be on Shudder, and the fact that Severin is doing this rollout, and of course, because Natasha is so high profile, and also just the loveliness of the whole cast, Thomas, Mink, Cassandra, everyone just being so generous with their time and embracing it. My big hope is that this might lead someone to go like, oh yeah, that fucking weirdo drag queen can make a movie, and she could actually do a good job. Here, let's give her some money to do another one, So I don't know that it would be a sequel, but I would love to do another movie. And of course, I'm definitely one of those people who loves working with the same people over and over again. So if Thomas were available and the people,
I am.
Yeah, so that would be my dream with this, is that this movie, it gets new eyes on it, and certainly with the support of Shudder and the horror community, maybe we could get another movie off the ground.
Oh God, I would love that. I would love to see the whole team back together again, making something even crazier. So, well, again, thank you for talking to me, Joshua, Thomas, and absolute best of luck on this re-release. And let's see some more stuff from you. When's it coming to Shudder? June 13th.
June
That's
13th,
right.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So June 10th is the Blu-ray release, and then check out All About Evil on Shudder on June 13th. Joshua, Thomas, it is just an absolute pleasure, and I hope to hear from you again.
Thanks, Norm. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Bye.
Bye.